Okay, so Putin's billionaire buddy wires the Biden family $3.5 billion.
Right there, you could open an impeachment inquiry. Or how about when Joe Biden flies his son to China, he comes back with a bucket of cash, and then gets on the, hey, guys, you better pay up the rest or my dad's going to get revenge.
But as always, I am thoroughly entertained by Jesse's diatribe, and I learned some new things, but it's strange that members of the Republican Party who serve in Congress don't agree with him. You should, I don't know, have some plans to make life better for the American people. But no, you're going to spend the next several months, by the way, collecting evidence. You've been doing that for 9 months already. You just haven't come up with anything.
Damn! Another week of a Republican-controlled House means another week of impeachment threats that has even the biggest of men shaking in their boots.
Ask you about this news that Speaker McCarthy has formally launched an impeachment or has said he's going to.
Oh my God, really? Oh my gosh, it's devastating. Ooh, don't do it. Please don't do it. Oh no.
So we gotta run back to the office, but
Of course, at the direction of the quad-indicted cult leader-in-chief, Republicans are all in. Well, not all in, actually, considering they don't have the votes as a result of not having the evidence.
Kevin McCarthy has lost control of the gavel. With this announcement today, he has proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that the Republican conference is controlled by conspiracy theorists.
This is
when
not,
he calls into the dinners,
is not about,
you don't think that's involvement?
First of all, this is not about innuendo. It's not about what I believe. It's a question. Do you have evidence? If you had evidence that Joe Biden was linked to Hunter Biden's business deals in a way that is illegal, we wouldn't be having this conversation. You would probably have the votes for an impeachment inquiry, but you don't. Because of people like Ken Buck and people like Don Bacon.
But still, they serve up a good word salad.
But Congressman, why not subpoena him and have him testify on Capitol Hill? Even if he doesn't say anything, that's going to be uncomfortable for the president to have his son testifying on the Hill.
Right. Well, when I announced the investigation early on, I said we're going to follow the money. And Hunter Biden's more than welcome to come in front of the committee. If he wants to clear his good name, if he wants to come and say, these weren't 20 shell companies, they actually did something. He's invited today. We will drop everything.
Yeah, but he's not going to volunteer to do that. We both know that. But if you subpoena him, he then has to.
However, Fox News voice of sanity Jessica Tarlov was on top form yesterday after being forced to listen to the verbal gymnastics of her co-hosts before slicing through each empty talking point, leaving her co-hosts like this.
Safe middle ground where people know that the vaccine is safe for you, but you don't. Oh, well, what do you mean? You're fine. You're vaccinated. What do you? Oh. As always, I am thoroughly entertained by Jesse's diatribe, and I learned some new things, but it's strange that members of the Republican Party who serve in Congress don't agree with him. So much so that they're on record saying things like this. David Joyce, Congressman, I'm not seeing the facts or evidence. Dusty Johnson, there's a constitutional and legal test that you have to meet with evidence, and I haven't seen it. Don Bacon, there should be a direct link to the president and some of the evidence. I think we need to have more concrete evidence to go down that path. And then Ken Buck, the time for impeachment is the time when there's evidence linking President Biden. And I don't think that evidence has been presented. Now, these are not people who are Democrats. They're not members of the lamestream media or whatever you want to call it. Those are Republican Congress people. Kevin McCarthy, I guess, has amnesia. He has short-term and long-term. Last Friday, he told Breitbart that there would be no impeachment inquiry without a vote. He also, in 2019, went after Nancy Pelosi, saying if she was going to have an impeachment inquiry without a vote, it would create a process completely devoid of any merit or legitimacy. Well, welcome to the circus, Kevin McCarthy. That's what you've done. Nancy Pelosi did have that vote on October 31st in 2019. McCarthy has made too many promises to too many lunatics. Marjorie Taylor Greene, here, Politico's reporting this afternoon that Donald Trump was on the phone with Elise Stefanik, number 3 in the conference, the GOP conference chair, talking about impeachment. He continues to do Donald Trump's bidding. Now, I return to where I started. No one wants an impeachment inquiry. It's never fun. It's not going to help anything. But it is going to show that the GOP is a fiercely unserious party. They have to keep the government open. That should be the priority. You should, I don't know, have some plans to make life better for the American people. But no, you're going to spend the next several months, by the way, collecting evidence. You've been doing that for 9 months already. You just haven't come up with anything.
Where's the diamond?
Because
I wish I
let's
had
get the judge in, because the evidence that they're looking for, if it exists, it has been blocked from access by
by the Biden family and by the White House.
But to the great point on Kevin McCarthy's amnesia, it's not just short term. It actually goes back a few years. I wonder what had him change his tune.
But the people that are hurting the American public because the work that is not being done in Congress today. The funding of our troops, the funding of government, prescription drug prices, our trade, our strength to our economy, can all get done if they'd only focus on the work of why they were elected. But there's one person that has the power to bring it forth, the Speaker of the House. Too enthralled in impeachment to do anything else.
That's why today I am directing our House committee to open a formal impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden.
Now, is it fun to watch Republicans squirm when presented with pesky facts about their lack of facts? Of course, but when you realise this is all they have to go on for 2024, you realise how doomed that party really is. They lie about the economy. It's booming, by the way.
Another thing, you know, Joe Biden comes out and he has the unmitigated gall to say that Donald Trump didn't build anything. And so what I did was I went in and started looking at all the things that Donald Trump did and built before he became president. And whether it's in the biggest, let me just finish, whether it's in the beginning of his career or right until he ran for president, it is unparalleled what he did from Mumbai to Dubai, et cetera, from Scotland. And then when he was in the White House, he talked about, you want to talk about what he built? He rebuilt the economy. You talk about 1 or 2% of African Americans, they got jobs more than they've ever had under any other president.
That's not true. Unemployment rate on the Hispanic unemployment rate is the lowest it has ever been, and that's under President Joe Biden, not Donald Trump.
Biden.
You know, these are all measures that are in place. These are the components of Bidenomics. So when someone tells you Americans don't like Bidenomics, it's false.
They present Hunter Biden as the silver bullet when the evidence is as solid as Marjorie Taylor Greene's marriage. They play this game of moral superiority, which is nothing more than an ostentatious attempt to catch the eye of their criminally indicted frontrunner.
This reckless legislative joyride that the extremists are trying to take the American people on, which may end in a government shutdown that will hurt the American people, hurt business, and hurt the economy, falls squarely at the feet of the extremists in the House Republican Conference. And it's our hope that some common sense will prevail. But as Catherine Clark indicated, there are no moderates left in the House Republican Conference. They talk a good game, but at the end of the day, they all do the same exact thing: bend the knee to Donald Trump. Thank you, everyone.
Who, by the way, if you really cared about someone actually in office enriching themselves through family ties, I'd like to tell you about some not-so-good kush.
Madam Speaker, I rise today to urge House Republicans to investigate one of the modern American scandals and political cons. Now, why did the Saudi government give Jared Kushner $2 billion just months after he left the Trump White House? Kushner, who oversaw Middle East policy for his father-in-law, has enriched himself and his family in what is clearly an enormous grift and likely serious conflict of interest crimes. So let's review. First, Jared Kushner conned his way to a cushy White House job with no clear job description and no experience. Then he took it upon himself to prioritize pushing out the U.S. Secretary of State so he could cozy up to the Saudi government. Now, once he was close enough to the Saudis, we have records of a $110 billion arms deal between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia that was inflated at the direction of Jared Kushner. Then mere months after Kushner exits the White House, what happens? The Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia overrules his own investment advisors and sends $2 billion to Kushner's company's bank account. Now, in the exact words of Republican Chris Christie, who I'll quote, "The grift from this family is breathtaking. It's breathtaking. Jared Kushner and Ivanka Kushner walk out of the White House and months later get $2 billion from the Saudis." Now, some colleagues from across the aisle have explicitly said the Kushner family has engaged in business dealings that may have crossed the ethical line, and I agree, yet they refuse to act. Is this the same party that's obsessed with President Biden's family? And the American people deserve answers, and I urge my colleagues across the aisle to answer all our calls and subpoena Jared Kushner's company once and for all. Thank you, and I yield back.
Hey Midas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.